Hey, welcome back to SOS. I'm Staff Sergeant Badass. Yeah, he had the radio today. Anyway, that was Sippy. She stuck that on there. She comes in here and messes with my stuff. I thought it was funny. Alright, how am I going to do this? So, this is going to be kind of a freestyle thing. I'm just going to kind of go off the top of my head on things that I know, things that I think about, things that I guess will help, maybe. And this also goes back to questions that I get, and sometimes I think about those questions a lot, and I think about them all throughout the day. And I'm hoping this information will help you. Okay. So, how did the whole prepper thing, how did it get started, right? Alright, now, you'll see people, it's like SHTF this and SHTF that and SHTF, FHTF, and they just say that over and over again while they're sipping cocktails or whatever, you know. You got those people that just sit around saying it over and over again, but they're not really showing you stuff you can do, like canning and all these other items that we do. For example, dehydrating and food storage, and you know, I mean, I guess some people would just assume, hey, that's all common sense. Not really. I mean, there's a lot of people that phrase, but you know how the phrase started. I say that to just say more stuff, right? It's like, I know you get what I'm saying about that, right? So the thing is that the phrase preppers, it wasn't called preppers. It was something that just got thrown out there. The people that were called that, it was just a phrase that was used. And a lot of this stigma had come from the Doomsday Prepper show, which wasn't the best of shows, because it kind of gave people the bad idea of what a prepper is, and then it made everybody kind of, I better not say I'm a prepper out loud. Everyone's going to freak out. The NSA, you know, whoever's watching me, they're going to be watching me, and they're going to be picking up on what I'm saying. So I'm going to have to, you might end up having to put on a mask, you know, just to go talk to somebody. You know what I mean? It's one of those kind of things. But I had gotten questions. Hey, how would I start a group, and what would a group look like? Okay. And this is just a freestyle from me. This is just a bunch of stuff. So prepare yourself for this. It's just a bunch of stuff. So groups, all right, groups. A group of 4 can get you killed, right? There's going to be one person to try and murder the other ones out of the group. It's going to happen. But you gotta be trusting and knowing, and then supplies. Do you have enough supplies for, say you wanted to have a 4-man group or a 5-man group? I've been getting a lot of questions about the group thing since I've talked about groups. Yes, I have a group, and yes, I go and I train with the group. So that was one of the things, like, hey man, so how would you do that? How would you meet people? Well, you know, I was fortunate enough to meet people while I was in the military, and then I get the people that will say, hey man, I'm going to be rogue, you know, I'm just going to be on my own, I'm going to be an individual, and that stuff works in movies. You know, you always see the one guy like slaying a bunch of zombies by himself, and he's saving the day, and he gets the girl. You know, you see all this crazy stuff in movies, but it's not reality. I don't care who you are. And that trash doesn't even work in the military. That trash does not work in the military. They are not loners. They are not alone. They have groups with them, and groups change billets. Groups change their leadership roles to get tasks done. Ask anybody that was Special Forces just once. Just ask them. They'll tell you, yeah, you know, I was really good at doing this, and Joe Bob, Billy Bob over here said he could do that, and I'll go do this, and I was better at that than I was that. It's one of those things, the role-playing thing changes. You have to know each other's skill sets. And that's another thing that goes into that. And food supply for you and yours and theirs, and how many they've got, and you've got to consider all of that. You can't just say, well, me and Billy, we're going to get together and we're going to make ourselves a group. You know, you can't, that's not how Bubba and Billy should function, honestly. It's not how it works. You don't just go, snap, I'm going to have a group right now. It doesn't work like that. But you've got to consider all the aspects of it, right? And so, like I said, prepper has become such an ugly word that people don't talk about it much. You've got everyone that's like, they hate humans, they hate human beings, they just want to go hide and not talk to anyone. I'm an individual, I work alone. You're going to have those guys, it's like they work alone, and they're just going to be out there by themselves, not asking for help. They won't talk about it because they're practicing their OPSEC. You know what I'm saying? OPSEC is one thing. Operational risk management ordeals and stuff like that. Your ORMs, your OPSECs, and all that stuff. So you got all these different acronyms for military, and I'll give you the long definition of that in the description block if you guys want to know. Just let me know if you don't know what it is. All right, so here we go. Because I have to keep going. I have to keep freestyling this one. So when it comes to OPSEC, you loose lips sink ships is probably the best way of saying it, right? I'm trying to put it in civilian terms, so I don't want to screw people up too bad. Because to give you the long definition, it's like 3 miles long. So, anyways, loose lips sink ships, and you don't want to go out here. You're afraid to broadcast the fact that, hey, I'm a prepper, I'm this guy, and then they start thinking I've got all these guns and all this stuff. Like my neighbor, they think I'm a freaking. They probably think I'm a lunatic, which I should play the role of a lunatic real good. I should go out there in a ninja costume and start chopping bottles open. That's what I should go do. But I don't want to raise any more eyes on me than there already is. I talk to people. That's what I do. And this is what I'm kind of telling you. Someone was asking me how can I get a group? Not just someone, but many were asking me this. How can I get a group started? And I'd kind of given you the weak answer. Hey, talk to your friends, talk to your family. Well, that's a weak answer, and I'm sorry. And I want to apologize for that. I want to clear that up. There's more to it than that, and it's not as hard as you think. It's kind of like one of those AA meetings for all you guys out there to do that stuff. It's what's the first rule? You have to admit it, right? So the first rule, it's kind of like Fight Club. There you go. I'm just saying stuff. Just ignore. If it offends you, let's just move on, okay? We can still be friends. All right. So the first rule would be just admitting, right? So you want to admit that you are a prepper. Just admit it. Just be open about it. You don't say, "Hi, I'm Bob. I'm a prepper. I'm your neighbor." You don't approach people like that. You work your way into that. But that's one thing that I would do, like at church and stuff like that. Well, what do you guys do? Well, we do home canning and stuff like that. We don't say we're a prepper. We say, hey, you can. The other great way of doing this is the courses, different types of courses. I've taken several pistol courses, rifle courses, things like that, and I'll go to the civilian courses, and we'll sit there in groups and get questions. Hey, how many of you have experienced this? How many of you experienced that? And I've put my paw in the air a few times and said, hey, look, I've experienced that. And then afterwards, it strikes interest in other people that are in the room. Hey, when did you see that? I was like, oh man, that was a while ago. One of those kind of things. You end up in a conversation with them. It's like, oh, I'm doing this because I'm preparing for something that, like, what if something chaotic happens? That kind of thing. You can end up in a conversation like that and you don't even know it's going to happen. It just happens. And it's almost accidental. Just don't force it. Just let it kind of roll out. And you'll never know. The same people in your area, in your neighborhood, are going to have the same things in common. Billy Bob down the street, which probably is a cool dude, you just don't know it. But come to find out, he's a medic, and he's into the same stuff as you. You don't even know. But you just discovered that, and you're like, wait a minute, I just scored another medic. Woo! And that's the other thing. If you don't have a medic in your group, you're going to die. I'm not going to try and just scare the crap out of you, but really, I'm talking total collapse. I'm talking collapse. I'm not talking some kind of like a fairy tale made up movie Hollywood adventure. I'm talking collapse. I'm talking really bad stuff. I'm not talking about, kind of like how everybody had seen the movie The Road. I know I've talked about that a couple of times. It's one of my all-time favorites. The Road was by far one of my favorite movies. because it literally puts a twist on everything Stephen King, The Road. Alright, for those of you who don't know, just look it up. Anyway, that was one of my all-time favorites when it comes to what it's going to be like, what it would look like, and stuff that they were doing. It's the best way of describing that. And kind of like in the movie Eli, as you were, Eli, when in that movie, he had actually said in the movie, you know, things we would throw away then, we kill each other for today. And that's the stuff that I like to think about. And that's with the tangible items. That's with little things, right? But going back to groups, you've got to get the groups together. You're going to have to first admit that you are one. You are one. I'm starting to sound like Billy. You are a prepper. You're going to have to admit that first, and you're going to have to say, "Look, man, I am." And then you're going to have to flex on that OPSEC just a little bit and be able to talk to people. You're not going to be able to just sit there and not communicate with people. It's just going to, you're not going to get any help from anywhere, and then you're going to end up being a loner. The only way you can do that, I get emails all the time from people, and I get in conversations with people. I know them from following me on here. I see them on Google. I see them here and there, and I know who they are. I don't personally know them. Like, would we go have coffee? Maybe in an environment, a controlled environment, and I could actually meet up with someone and just sit and talk with them for a while. Sure, there ain't nothing wrong with that. You're in a safe environment. You both just kind of sporadically meet there on your own accord there and just plan that meeting. You don't have to go telling them your phone number. This is where I live, and you can just, hey, look, there's a Wendy's here, you know, on this corner street or whatever, or Starbucks or whatever. There you go. Sit down, have coffee or whatever, and just shoot the breeze. And the next thing you know, you might have another buddy. That's one way of doing it. Facebook is sort of kind of your friend and sort of not. There's so many groups on there. I'm not on Facebook. I did away with that years ago. I don't plan on going back. I got so annoyed. They won't accept my name, Staff Sergeant Badass. Every time I put it in, it says I've got to give them a driver's license and a birth certificate. I don't have any of that stuff for that. So I'm just going to leave it like that, because I wasn't born with that name. I just kind of came up with that name later on. That's how I ended up. So they're not going to accept me, so I'm not going to accept them. I mean, what would be wrong with being Joe Smo the Redneck on Facebook anyways? Does it really hurt anybody? I could make a business page. I had one before. I killed that. I digress. I'm getting off subject. Let's get back on subject. Okay, so you got your groups, you got your collapse. Say it's just total collapse, devastation. Everyone says all the time, hey, look, man, you know, you're going to need clothes. You need shelter. What are you going to do? You know, Billy over here, food. I need my shelter and I need my clothes. It's not going to go away. It's still going to be there. The buildings are not all going to collapse. Not every single building out there is going to fall apart. There's going to be hotel rooms. There's going to be all kinds of stuff with gear and trash left over. Places that have been evacuated. They're going to be leaving all kinds of stuff. Then you always hear about the either redneck hillbillies or just survivalist, whatever that would be. So the group of guys that say, hey, I'm going to go into the woods and I'm going to build myself a log cabin and I'm going to hunt deer all day. Well, 20,000 other people are going to be there with you. So you're going to be fighting to the death for that buck. You know, you're going to be fighting to the death for that kill. And it's not going to be fun. And at some point, I mean, all the stores and everything are just going to be empty. You're going to have clothes, but the only problem with that goes, also there's going to be 20,000, 40,000, whatever number of people in town fighting over stuff. So there you go, for food and clothes. But you're still going to need food regardless. It's just one of those things to keep in mind. It's not going to go like you planned, that you can sustain life while you're out there, but there's a good chance that, you know, you're not going to be running around popping up tents all over the place. It's just the wrong kind of concept, the wrong kind of way of thinking. Having a shelter and knowing how to build a shelter is very important and very vital to your survival and you striving out there in the wilderness, whichever you choose. And some people can do it and some people can't. And people don't try stuff anymore. They just assume they can do it. They need to try it. And it's like all the different methods for water. You have people like, oh man, I could just cut a cactus and drink it. That's not how that works, and it's poisonous. Right? It's one of those other things that go into that. There's it's just like with the bag method on the limb and all of those stuff. It's probably the most logical method of some sort of different types of ways of doing it. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that because I'm going to digress into what I'm trying to say here. So, total collapse. Where do you go? What do you do? Well, the thing is that, all right, so you've established groups, you've established roles that you're going to play, you know what everyone's good at, and you've kept track of this, and you've actually worked with them and actually talked to them about what they can do and what you can do. They have a lot of knowledge in random stuff, and you have a lot of knowledge in random stuff. The two of you put together would make a pretty epic team. You just have to cross-train one another. That person knows a lot of epic stuff, he passes it on to you, and vice versa. You know what I mean? It's just like people who do home canning and stuff like that. Everybody's got a different technique and a different method to everything and more recipes. I've met people that do canning that have millions of recipes and they want to share me their knowledge, and then I share mine with them, and it just kind of goes back and forth. I run into people when I'm in the aisles at the grocery store to pick up more stuff for canning. Sometimes I'll just getting stuff for canning or whatever they seem to charge. And then people will ask me in the middle of the aisle, hey, how hard is it to do that? Well, it's not that hard at all. Let me tell you about it. And then I'll help another person, and next thing you know, I got another person. Hey, guess what? There you go. And it's just one more thing, and it's sharing the knowledge with somebody else. That might save your life someday. Sharing your information with others might actually save your life. Being selfish and just sucked into your own little world, it's not going to get you anywhere. You got to help others. And as much as you probably don't want to and get out of your comfort zone, you're probably going to have to get out and help others. You're probably going to have to get out and talk to others. You're going to have to, you can't be a shut-in. If you're going to do this type of stuff, you're going to have to know. But you don't have to reveal everything to everybody. Just keep it nice and whatever you want to do it, however you want to do it. Me, I feel pretty safe. I'm all right. I don't worry too much. I want to make sure people stay prepared. I don't want people to get out there and assume all these assumptions, and especially with the media, the way they twist everything, they ruin it for everybody. It's one of those things to consider. Now, if you're in the cities, and this is just another thing that kind of goes into cities, if you're not the person that's going to go running for the hills and running for the mountains or whatever, and if you are going to try and hunker down, well, this is where you need to start thinking tactical, all right? Not only that, it's one of the things I always think about. Make yourself seem bigger than what you really are. Make yourself seem more violent than what you really are. If you can adjust, it's not an acting role. It's more of a improvised explosions role. You've got to have things that make it seem like there's more guns on the scene. There's more options for explosions. I know you see this stuff in movies where the guy throws a whole magazine full of bullets into the frying pan with some cooking oil, turns the burner on, walks in the other room, and then boom, 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 boom. You know, you got all that kind of stuff. I have 1,000,001 ideas of this craziness that run through my head all the time. And Sippy, I surprise her like, whoa, that's a great idea. It's not that great, but sure, you can use it. I can see Sippy Cup now. I've got a magazine full of bullets. You know, I'm going to scare them off. You know, one of those things. But you can do that with 209 primers. 209 primers is the best. And shotguns are the best. I'm going to tell you right now, shotgun, you can hunt anything with it. I love shotguns. But I'm going to digress if I start talking about this random stuff. But making yourself seem bigger than what you really are. Start looking for things with your house, stuff, you know, make it seem like there's more people there, not just you and someone else. Make it seem like there's more people there. If it seems like there's more people, they're going to leave you alone. What if someone comes wandering out of the woods or whatever, and they just start flipping your stuff over and taking what they want, and they shove you out of the way and start going in your house and ravaging through all your stuff and taking what they want, and they just walk out? There was nothing anyone could do about it. It could happen. I'm just saying, it's an idea. It's something to think about. A lot of people don't think about those. You know, just use your imagination just once It's really hard to do that sometimes with some people. They don't have that kind of imagination. They can't just picture all these things unraveling. And I do that a lot. I take a look around. It's one of the freaky traits of me. I start seeing things like Final Destination just kind of unravel. I see that stuff fall apart in front of me, and I can actually imagine what that would look like in my head. And it's just one of the things that I do. What was I saying? Oh yeah. How many of you get, just for example, I got this idea. I was looking at some other stuff, and the thing with finding stuff, right? There was a guy that locates all the different types of warehouses in his area. I'm like, okay. He locates all the different types of warehouses, finds out what they're for. Oh, that's a food storage warehouse for, this grocery store or that whatever and this and that. All the grocery stores will be depleted, right? And you've got all these other warehouses that are out there. And then he marks out on his map for his town. The other thing with groups, going back to that real quick, get people from your area. From, me, I'm not going to say someone in Texas that I'm buddies with. I'm not going to, I know he's probably watching right now. I got a few people in Texas that are cool. So, in Texas, they could be, the weather there, I'm not going to know what the weather's like in Texas all the time and how they deal with stuff in Texas there. They're going to know in that community what that's like and how they deal with it. Now, here, on the other hand, I'm all the way on the east side of Tennessee. Yeah, I'll say it, I don't care. I'm all the way far east Tennessee. So, if something comes up over here, man, I've got all kinds of wildlife here. It is Jurassic Park on my neck of the woods. Now, it's a lot different here than it is in Texas. There, whatever part that they might be in. They might live in an urban area. They could live in Houston or something. And I'm over here in this podunk town over on this side, right? As something to consider, when I'm having a group, I want them to be in my neck of the woods, along my whole side of my state. I want to make sure I'm covered that whole area. There's people in North Carolina, they're familiar with my area. Their area looks quite a bit the same almost. So a lot of those people are going to have that same kind of, and there's West Virginia, and all the other places. But anyway, and in Kentucky, and it's one of those things. So everybody might have some similar side posts there, but it's not going to be the same. So just keep that in mind. Not everything's going to be the same. So use a phone book or something. Keep it. If you get a phone book in the mail, don't just throw it in the trash and rely on the internet all the time. Maps. Keep maps. Start marking down. There's a food resource there. There's an outpost for food there. There's a place over here. There's a warehouse here. That's the old Sam's Club building down the street. Whatever. I don't care what it is. Start marking out these things and putting them on your map. Now, one of my group members keeps a map of his county up so that he can take a look at that. He knows he can sit back and look at that and go, yep. And then he could mark different locations of every type of resource on that, and he knows where they are. What if he might need it someday? One of those things to keep in mind. And don't do it alone. If it's total ridiculous collapseness, SHTF. There, I said it. All the people out there, sometimes I watch these videos and the person just says SHTF like a million times, and I'm waiting on him to tell me something I'm going to learn. Tell me something. Ah! I get that all the time, so I watch other people's videos and I'm like, no, just shut up. Stop it. Anyways. You're done. Not watching you anymore. So that happens, okay? But remember, keep track of your area. That will help you long term. And I think this freestyle little thing here I just did was okay. I'm hoping you guys got something out of this. I'm starting to get pretty far into my time here. I think I'm going to stop. I think that'll be good. Alright, tell me if you liked it. I'll do another one. It's been a while since I've done one of these. It's been a while. But I want to have some content in mind. A little meat and potatoes. I don't want it to just be just talking about the same thing over and over and over and over and beat myself to death. I hope this gives you ideas. I want to leave you thinking. And if I've left you thinking, leave me a comment. Just say something below, you know, whatever. And just be the typical comment dudes. I don't care. Whatever. I'll talk to you back. I reply to everybody, just like always. Anyway, I guess that's it. You're watching SOS. I'm Staff Sergeant Badass. Please have a beautiful, fabulous, fantastic day. And don't let anyone scare the crap out of you. Just work on one thing at a time. One thing. Do one thing per day and you will get there, okay? One thing. Just one, right? Don't get overwhelmed. Just take a break. Breathe. I need to do something today. Alright, I got it. I know what I'm going to do today. It's like me. I'm going to go outside in just a minute and I'm going to start shooting my bow. And I'm also going to make a nice sheath. I'll probably do that tomorrow. But anyways, I've got something else I can do. But not just with that stuff. I'm building a rifle right over here. And some of you have seen pictures on Instagram of me building a rifle. It's not for me. It's for somebody else. Alright. Once again, you're watching SOS. I'm Staff Sergeant Badass. Have a beautiful, fabulous, fantastic unicorn rainbow day. Take it easy.